Hello, everyone. This lecture will focus on adolescence. Specifically in this lecture, I will be discussing adolescence and some research not included in the textbook. And I will be providing some definitions. We'll be discussing how we can work on reducing problem behaviors. And I will also be discussing some school, community, and neighborhood interventions and how we can work to involve parents and caregivers of adolescents. Let me talk to you about some research that has been done on adolescence. Specifically in this slide, I have cited Blakemore 2018. The Blakemore research is a presentation based on her extensive research with adolescents. And the way she defines puberty is from puberty until one achieves one stable role in society. So rather than an age, this definition gives us an idea of what adolescents are going through. It is a developmental stage, and it's not really done until adolescents are more secure in who they are. And this is a stage in other cultures as well, in which adolescents are viewed as moody and impulsive. And sometimes we even describe them as lazy and disrespectful to their elders. And we might also describe them as overly dramatic. I'm sorry. And historically, adolescents have been denigrated. And I also have a quote from Socrates. The children now love luxuries and love bad manners. They show disrespect for elders, and they have bad manners against their elders. Children are now tyrant and no longer the servants of their household, no longer rise when adults enter a room, cross their legs. I wanted to show this quote to show that this is not necessarily just relevant to our culture or period of time, because sometimes I feel that it's just now, but there's a long historic context, and we see this cross-culturally. And there's an increased risk taking during this stage, late in their teens specifically, and then it decreases through their 20s. Because self-regulation and their self-actions improves through their late 20s. And this is observed cross-culturally, not just in the US. They are taking more risks during their late teens. They are exploring their environment more. They're also more likely to take risk-taking behaviors when they are with their peers. And research has shown that, again, adolescents are more likely to get involved in risk-taking behaviors when their peers are present. And this goes back to the development of social self, which leads teenagers to be hypersensitive, to be socially included. But it is one of the most important stages in life, and teens are developing who they are. So when the social self development is taking place, this process is very difficult and complex. Even CT scans show that there are increased levels of stress during this stage. They are experiencing increased levels of stress due to physiological changes described in your textbook. And the developmental changes experienced are at a rapid rate. So when working with teenagers, one of the goals is to reduce problem behaviors because they are at a higher risk of taking part in those risk-taking behaviors, we just mentioned in the previous slide. So as social work practitioners, whether we're working in the micro, meso, or macro levels, it is important that we use evidence-based interventions. And when I say problem behaviors, I refer to teen pregnancy, substance abuse, violence, dropping out of school, some things along those lines. There are a number of benefits at the micro and macro level for reducing problem behaviors. At the community level, those programs can save money by reducing the need for social programs and law enforcement. So for example, if adolescents don't develop mental health problems, they won't need mental health services. So there will be a reduction in these programs. And the outcomes as a whole reduce the need for the programs, making them more likely to graduate, to get a job, and contribute to society through taxes as a socially functioning member of society. So to reduce factors, risk factors, or to reduce problem behaviors, we first need to identify risk factors. So for example, risk factors in adolescence can be a lack of clear guidelines for expected behavior. Another risk would be having poor monitoring and harsh and inconsistent discipline and high levels of conflict. All of these risk factors for a problem among adolescents, again, it is detrimental for us to identify those. And it is also important for us to be able to work with their families. And in the following slide, I will be discussing how we can involve their families in the programs we serve adolescents. We also need to make sure that the program framework is based on theory. So for example, this model here shows the importance of providing adolescents with opportunities for involvement, positive reinforcement and feedback so that they can develop positive beliefs and norms. And this can lead to positive behaviors. So we must seek evidence-based programs. And we often don't hear about programs that have bad outcomes, but that's just as important to know. So for example, peer interventions with at-risk youth have actually shown to increase the risk. So it's important to use programs that have shown to have positive outcomes. So prevention and intervention is something that is not necessarily common for this stage of development. Few teenagers are part of education and intervention programs, and we need to also have more intervention and education programs for adolescents. And also, it is important for us to include their parents. So at the macro level, those programs aimed at reducing poverty, homelessness, housing, hunger, and also pre-K programs have shown to reduce problems among adolescents. SNAP, for example, has been related to health improvement. The EITC program has been associated to improve achievement, and health insurance has been linked to improve mental health and educational attainment. And programs at the meso level in communities have shown positive outcomes for adolescents, for youth as well. And these policies are less visible sometimes. The National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine have different findings, and they have shown that there's a need for a wide variety of community school neighborhood programs, and they have recommended that programs should create opportunities for innovation and capitalize on the brain elasticity of adolescents rather than looking at the concerns or issues. So also adolescents should be active participants. They need to be culturally sensitive as well. And they need to involve the caregivers or parents, and they should seek to address any disparities or inequities among groups. And the CDC offers also a directory of databases. Each of the databases share the programs in various places across the United States and other countries as well. And some of the programs that are often targeted for prevention are for sexual assault, teen pregnancy, substance abuse, violence, bullying, and academic failure, mental health, physical health, and suicide. So these are some of the programs that you would likely be designing for teens. And there are a couple of websites that I included here. One of them is called Social Programs That Work. And this site seeks to identify those programs that have been found in rigorous studies to produce sizable sustained benefits to participants in society. And the purpose of the website is to enable policy officials and other program leaders to have access to the information related to these programs. And another good website is called Child Trends. And it is a nation research organization focused on improving the lives of children and youth, and especially those who are the most vulnerable. So they work by providing data and evidence on different programs that are targeted towards children and youth development. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is crucial for us as social workers to involve parents and caregivers, because all research indicates that it is very important to involve caregivers when working with adolescents. And it is crucial for you to develop a therapeutic relationship with the parent. And you want to see how the current family is functioning. And it is better for you to also get the buy-in of the family. It is better for you to develop a relationship with the family. And you want to learn about the families through stories about previous therapy that they have been in. You also want to learn about them from stories about the family more generally. You want to learn about how the family functions. It is important to identify parental defense mechanisms, because parents are in a role in which they feel blamed. And there's a great deal of blame in parents, especially when their family is not functioning the way they feel they should. And they may also use defense mechanisms such as lashing out or projecting or taking their negative feelings on someone else. You may also observe regression in parenting techniques that you have shown them, and that their behavior may not be necessarily positive. With mothers, you might see that they are doing everything possible, such as cleaning and cooking, to receive a praise or reward. So you might want to ask, why do you do this? Why is this beneficial to the family? And consider how their behaviors might be maladaptive. And you will also want to identify opportunities, skills, rewards, bonding, and clear expectations for behavior. So because you need to help parents develop positive behaviors, and you need to identify the expectations of behaviors and ways of setting clear boundaries. And you need to help them ways to bond with their adolescents, because adolescents want opportunities and time to spend with their caregivers. Also recognize countertransference. There is something very important when you are working with families, because we all have a family history from our own upbringing and raising our own children. So you need to ask yourself, do you identify with this parent? Are you potentially creating barriers for their growth? Are these similarities an asset? So you need to be honest with yourself of how your own family experiences have motivated you. So your work as a social worker may be influenced by your previous experiences of how your upbringing was with your own family, or how you are raising your own children. So hopefully you will have a better understanding of how your experiences are affecting your work with your families. So thank you so much. I hope this lecture was helpful and helping you better understand how you can approach your work with adolescents. Have a great week.